Hey. Can you hear me? I can't. You're on mute.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yay. Okay.
Wait a minute. I never knew you had dreadlocks. Or have you?
I just got done.
I'm like, wait,
2 months
what happened?
ago.
You've been braiding on top of them?
No, like 2 months ago, I finally did it. And so I think the 17th was my 2-month lock anniversary.
Wow. Well, congratulations. I used to have locks.
I know you told me that.
Oh, yep.
We have to talk about that experience. But now, are we like live, or you
No,
just
not yet. Not yet. Yeah, I'll let you know before we go live. What was I trying to do? I feel a little disorganized right now. I haven't done this since May.
I feel so thankful to be your first guest back for the new season of Conversations with a Clinician.
Thank you.
I love your hair.
Honey, this is a wig, but thank you.
I love that. Is it a lace front? Girl.
Maybe.
Did you have to put glue down?
I didn't. But it got lace at the top, in the little closure thing. So I don't know if that. I don't know.
You always keep it interesting, girl.
We got to. I was like, tomorrow my anniversary, and I'm like, what am I gonna do with my hair? I ain't doing nothing. I'm braiding and putting a wig on. That's what I'm doing.
I love it. I love it.
That is what I'm doing. So did you get a chance to go over the questions?
I sure did. Absolutely.
Okay.
And I'm going to try to not be so stat heavy because, I don't want to, bore people or whatever, but I did receive it.
Okay. Did you want to talk about anything? I know the app that you're creating is for like social isolation. Did you want to talk any about that at the end? Because no, you don't have to. I'm just asking.
So the extent, probably not. Nah, I'm good because then I have to explain it, and I quite don't know what I'm doing. Thank you for asking.
Oh my goodness. Okay. I'm trying to figure. I was talking to Tawanda earlier. I don't know when that next paper is due for data.
Thursday night. I think midnight.
Okay. All right. Did you start?
I'm gonna start tomorrow.
I don't know how. I feel like that paper is the hardest.
And that's what Kimberly was saying. She came to the drop-in thing that we had, and she brought it up towards the end, and then she mentioned something about data, and I'm like, what? I need to, girl. What do we have to do? Just very briefly.
I don't even fully understand. We have to grand challenge and then scope it down to what we want to do. This is the grand challenge problem. This is what I want to do, and then go into the literature review. But the literature review has to be very concise, and the literature review has to be us analyzing 2 or 3 studies or articles or something like that have already been done and talk about where our work is going to fit in, I think.
That sounds right. From what she said, that sounds right.
I don't even feel like I know how to structure it.
We should probably schedule, all of us, if we even have time, schedule a drop-in. I think y'all did that already, a drop-in conversation about the paper.
We did I don't know if it was about the paper.
Oh.
Yeah, I don't know if it was about the paper. I know that it was right before school started, wasn't it?
Oh, yeah. Wow.
Yeah, I don't think it was about the paper though. I think it was just praying to get us on track.
That's right. My mind is all over the place, so it feels like it was about the paper. I could have been totally, I'm tripping. I don't know. I'm just trying to maintain.
Listen, you and me both. I haven't worked since June, and I really don't want to go back because I'm studying for my licensure.
Yeah.
And I was supposed to take it, but then I pushed it back. I don't know why I pushed it back, but I felt like I needed to study more on like the different therapy types and the different theories to make sure I really had it down.
Right.
And yeah, I pushed it back. So I take it in like 2 weeks, but I'm in this group on Facebook, and the lady was saying that she got accommodations and she was able to get up and move around. She was able to eat, but I have to take mine by the end of October. They already gave me an additional 3 months, like for my anxiety and stuff like that. So I was like, even if I were to go to my doctor or psychiatrist or something, like maybe they could give me a letter, but I still would need to wait on ASWB to
approve it.
And
I hope that they would be quick about it though.
She said it usually takes about a month. So if I were to do it like Monday, maybe, but when it goes into, would I be able to find a test? I mean, like a date, is that date going to be available?
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying? Before I think I have to take it by the end of October, but I have to renew my master's level license before the end of October. So I was trying to get it done so I have to double pay.
Yes.
I don't know. It is what it is. All right.
I'm gonna let you do your thing because I know you on a countdown.
Let me get myself together. This should have already been done, but I was studying earlier and trying to prepare for this part. Then the kids had homecoming. It just don't ever stop in my life.
How many kids had homecoming?
2, the oldest 2.
Oh, that's awesome.
Mm-hmm. I wasn't gonna go because I didn't know how I was gonna respond to that ex-wife, but boy, the Lord, just keep me in your prayers.
I got you. I got you. You're the third person to ask me for prayers within the past 24 hours, and I'm definitely gonna pray.
I appreciate it.
Of course. When I move my head, do you hear clunk?
Yeah. Oh, your earrings.
I'm gonna switch my earrings. I'll be right back.
Okay.
One sec.
All right.
Okay. So Miss Ashley, how do you typically flow through your the interview process?
Yep. So what I'm going to start out, and I'll just start with today's date. What our topic is. I'll tell everyone that it's National Suicide Month, so that's what we're going to be discussing today. I'll give a disclaimer to let them know, you can invite friends, like, comment, whatever, share, so we can get the conversation going. I am in conversations with a clinician. I'm recording. Then I'll explain what Conversations with a Clinician is. I'll talk a little bit about mental health and mental illness, and then I will read your bio, and then we'll go into the questions.
Sweet.
All right, so let's just pray real quick. Father God, we come to you in the name of Jesus. We thank you for this opportunity, oh God. Father, we pray that this message may reach someone, oh God, to be able to stop or prevent any suicide, or be able to provide resources to parents or other adults or friends that may know someone that is struggling in this area, oh God. Father, I pray that you decrease all anxiety and that you increase in both of us, because you have prepared us, you have educated us, you have equipped us to do the work that we do, oh God. So I pray right now that you get the glory even in this conversation talking about suicide and mental health, in Jesus' name. Oh, and I pray that we have no issues with connectivity in the name of Jesus. The internet will be strong and it will flow. The volume will be good, in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen.
For my internet, I be having challenges. So let me say this. If something happens with the internet, what I'll do is go out, and then I don't care. Did you eat something? Okay, go. Okay, go. If it goes out, then we can just go live on Facebook. So what'll happen is I'll go live, I'll tag you, you'll get the notification, you just join, and then we'll just pick up wherever we left off.
Okay. So then I'll go on Facebook, you'll tag me live, and then we'll do it that way.
Yep.
If need be.
Yep. Okay. And then I'll also tag you in when we go live, so it'll be streaming live on your page as well if you wanted to let somebody know. Yeah.
Okay.
Whenever you tag somebody, it shares onto your page.
That's dope.
Yep.
Okay.
All right. You got any questions?
No.
All righty. Well, here we go. And I'll let you know when we're live. It's sometimes a little lag, but we should be good. All righty. All right, so I just shared it on your page. All right, so I just shared it on your page. Okay, can you hear me?
Yeah.
All right, so I just shared it on your page. Okay, can you hear me?
Yeah.
I hear.
All right, so I just
let me exit out of this.
shared it on your page.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yeah.
I hear. Okay. All right, I think we're good now. All right, cool. Me and technology is always like trying to figure it out.
You did it though. I'm impressed. I'm just happy I got here.
I know that's right. So good evening, everyone. It is Ashley Lowe-Simmons, and I am bringing you another edition of Conversations with a Clinician. So it's September 26, 2021, and it is National Suicide Awareness Month. And so today we are going to be talking about teen suicide and mental health. I do want to give a disclaimer before I get started. This is not to replace therapy. If you have any mental health issues or any mental health diagnoses, I would advise you to seek mental health treatment from a licensed mental health professional. Please like, share, comment, so that we can get some insightful dialogue and we can begin to destigmatize and normalize mental health. Conversations with a Clinician is a space to discuss life issues, mental health issues, and how that impacts our interactions with one another, how that impacts our lives. And we're not just having dialogue. We are providing you all with some insightful, practical tools that you can use in your everyday life to ensure that you have whatever it is that you need to improve how you feel. So like I said earlier, our mental health is the foundation of everything that we do. Just like we have physical health, we have emotional health, we have a mental health. And if our mind isn't right, nothing else is right. And so that's what Conversations with a Clinician is. That's what mental health is. There's 1 in 5 individuals that has a mental illness. And a mental illness is a collection of mental disorders that has the ability to affect your thinking, your mood, and how you behave. And so we're here today with Miss Vina Wilson, and we're going to be talking about teenage suicide and mental health. So who is Vina? Vina is an amazing person, but I'm going to read her bio. Vina is a licensed clinical social worker. She provides psychotherapy services to children, teenagers, and adults. She's the owner and operator of Honey Bee Behavioral Health in Las Vegas, Nevada, where she assists individuals and families in creating healthy, adaptive, and well-functioning relationships. Ms. Wilson is trained in a variety of treatment approaches to meet the needs of her clients. She is experienced in providing dialectical behavioral therapy, a treatment method for individuals who engage in self-harm, learn skillful ways to manage their intense emotions. She is also skilled in providing prolonged exposure, a therapeutic approach used to assist individuals who have experienced traumatic incidents in using strategies to release their emotional and psychological pain, allowing healing to take place. Ms. Wilson earned her bachelor's and her master's degree from University of Nevada in Las Vegas. She's licensed by Nevada's Board of Social Work as a private clinical. I'm sorry, I really know how to read, y'all, but she's licensed in Nevada with the Board of Social Work as a private clinical practitioner and is a Nevada State Board of Social Workers approved clinical intern supervisor. That means that not only does she have her stuff going on clinically, she's also teaching up and coming social workers how to do this thing called social work. So Vina, welcome to Conversations with a Clinician. I am so glad to have you. How are you?
I am doing wonderful. It is a pleasure and an absolute blessing to share this space with you. And I have to apologize for sending you that long bio. You did a phenomenal job. Thank you. I appreciate it.
No, you are good. I want everybody to know who you are, right? To know what you've accomplished, what the type of work that you do, and the purpose of it. I'm all for making sure they got the education, right? So, let's just go ahead and dig in. I want us to be real, raw, and authentic. We're both professionals, but I really want us to keep it real so the people that are listening can really understand, like layman's terms, of what it is that we're discussing today. So when it comes to teenage suicide, what are some of the risk factors that parents can look for in their teens to show signs of emotional struggle?
Really great question. So I'm going to come from a space of being a clinical social worker and also do my best to be as clear as possible. So just a quick disclaimer, if I get kind of like far out and kind of jargony, Ashley, please pull me back and ask me the question again, because I'll float away. And before, because I know me. And, you know, before I answer the question, I do want to give two important phone numbers for our listeners, our audience today. The first one is to the National Suicide Prevention Lifeline. As Ashley noted at the top of our conversation, this is not to replace mental health treatment, and in no way are we capable or able in this moment to provide you with immediate intervention. So if this conversation ends up creating some distress or despair for you, please reach out to the National Suicide Prevention Lifeline. Their number is 1-800-273-8255. Again, 1-800-273-8255. The other number is the crisis text line. For those of you who do not want to talk on the phone, you can still get support over text. And you can text 741-741 using the phrase talk. Again, that's 741-741 using the phrase talk. And to be quite honest, I think if you send anything to the crisis text line, they will respond immediately to provide support. So in terms of risk factors that parents can look out for when they are raising a child of their own or in proximity to a teenager would be a few things. Now, I am mindful that teenagers, no disrespect, I've been one before, can be angsty and temperamental and a little reactive. So it could be easy to miss some of these signs. And if you notice that your child or the child around you is more irritable, more tearful, more reactive, like quick to kind of jump off and say something just kind of out the way and disrespectful, that's not their usual baseline, I would use that as a cue that they could be in a state of psychological or emotional distress. Mm-hmm. Another thing could be a change in their clothing. And I say that to say, there are some youth who engage in self-injurious behaviors, and we'll get into that a little bit later. Mm-hmm. And for those youth who engage in self-injurious behaviors, they could be doing so to reduce the intensity of whatever painful emotions they're going through. So if you're noticing that they're wearing long sleeves when it's unseasonably hot, or they are refusing to do certain behaviors that would require them to show more skin that they would do in the past, mm-hmm. that could be an indication that sums up. Additionally, a change in their appetite. Let's say that they're not eating as much, or they're eating in excess to what they typically do. And there's been a significant change in their hygiene. And finally, some loss of interest in things that they previously enjoyed. You may want to check in with your child and find out what's going on.
Got you. That is really good. Thank you for that. I know as a parent who now has a couple of teenagers, developmentally, you know, they go through those stages where they want to be in their room and spend time with their friends. And so, you know, we as parents are constantly looking for ways to try to engage, you know what I mean? So I think it's really important that even though they want to, you know, spend time with their friends, still let them know that like you're there. You know what I mean?
I agree 100%.
Okay, so next question. How can we teach our teenagers to recognize their emotions?
So a couple of ways, and I would love to build a conversation around this to have more ideas in addition to the two that I came up with.
Okay.
I have had the experience of talking to parents who are very intentional about not showing their child that they are anything other than happy or anything other than content. So I would offer, it would be helpful for parents to, in a developmentally and age-appropriate way, kids don't need to know everything, right? And there are certain life experiences that parents go through, that adults go through, that will evoke some emotion naturally. Yeah. And sharing those things with your child could be helpful so they can internalize that information. And when they have experienced something, like they'll be able to say, this is what sad feels like. This is what anxiety feels like. This is what disappointment feels like, because you will have modeled to them what and how those emotions can show up, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
The other thing that I would say is emoting for the child, which is a fancy way of saying naming what emotion you think the child has. And so think about a toddler, right? Like they run, and they fall down and they start crying. And it's like, oh, are you sad? Did that hurt your feelings? Or if somebody snatched a toy from them, did that hurt your feelings?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, you look really happy right now. So like applying and naming the emotion to your child while they're in the activity will help them be able to express to you what they're feeling in whatever way or whatever time they need to express that to you.
That is so, so good. I have a journaling workshop that I'm working on, and I went back in time and like recorded different stages in my life. And I just posted one talking about observational learning and how we learn through the things that we see. Like if I see mommy do one thing, I'm going to pay attention to that, right? And then I'm going to repeat it. And so I've now learned that this is how I respond, or this is how I do a certain thing. And so that's exactly what you said, actually, in both examples, even in the emoting their emotions, like a lot of times kids lack that language. And so as parents, as, you know, relatives, support systems, whatever, it's important that we give children, teenagers, and sometimes even other adults, to be honest with you, the language, the words. There's a movie called Inside Out. It's a kid's movie. Have you seen that? I absolutely love it. And I love it because you get to see what each emotion looks like. What are some of the behaviors? It's really, really good. So that's really good. Thank you for sharing that. Like going into talking about support systems. Sometimes that teenage age, like you want to talk to your friends. You don't really want to talk to anybody else.
100%.
Yeah. But your friends may not always be able to hold the load that you're carrying, right? And so how can teenagers find an adult that's trusting, or, you know, what's even the significance of having a support system for a teenager outside of their peers?
Really awesome question, because I remember being a teenager and heavily relying on my friends because they were so much a part of my experience, which developmentally is appropriate because you are transitioning in many ways from being like a kid, even though you're going to be a kid like your 20s, but you're going from being a kid to like establishing your own independence, your own personality, and your own viewpoint. So like there's this really interesting push-pull in that dynamic and the timing of things, because teenagers really only want to be with their friends and only really interact with their parents on, you know, an as needed basis for some teenagers, basically. Okay. So, and I am of the belief, even when I was my most stubborn and very hard-headed, okay, that if there are other teenagers, how I was when I was growing up, they're still listening. Even if they seem absolutely willful, totally disconnected, disengaged. I think when parents come to them and say, and just name, like, I am here. And if they can't verbalize it, showing that behaviorally, right? So that way the child knows that when you are in your darkest hour, and I pray that nobody who's listening to this conversation ever faces the darkest hour, and I've lived life long enough to know that we will at some point.
Yeah.
It's important to communicate to your child in some way that I will be there for you, and let them know that when that darkest hour comes, it is important to rely on an adult, because your friends may not have the bandwidth, like you said, or the capacity to help you with problem solving. And they may not, some may not go to the length of supporting you in the way that you need for whatever reason, right? And then, you know, if for whatever reason that child cannot come to the parent, because, you know, there are certain times where we know we have a support system, but there will be certain people that we call for certain things and others that we won't. That's just the reality of the situation. If you can't go to your parent, what other trusted adult could that be? Is it a coach? Is it your pastor? Is it your teacher? Who is it? Is it the mailman that you talk to because he shows up every day at 3:00? Like, who could that person be who could support you when you need that level of support?
That's really, like, I'm speechless on that. That's really good. Like you said, teens get so engulfed in their peers. I mean, and I was the same way. It's just part of developmental stages, you know what I mean? And so that's where they are trying to get ready to find themselves and step into that next level of relationship, right? So our peers almost prepare us for, other types of relations.
In many ways, for sure.
So I think it's so important that you actually put a name to different individuals that are in a child's ecosystem, if you will, or a teenager's ecosystem that they come in contact with on a regular basis. I went to church growing up, so I seen the pastor about 5 times a week, almost just as much as I seen my parents, right? I played sports. So the coach, who is it? Who can they name that they can actually go to start having those conversations? And can you just touch on the importance of having a support system? Because what you said was that I hope that we never have a darkest hour, but I've lived long enough to know that we will. And that's just a reality. Like, we can still have hope, but we also know what happens in the world. So when they reach that darkest hour, what is that support system going to do for them?
Right. And I think it's important to have a support system because, research will show that social isolation and going at it alone when things are challenging, or just generally, if you always have to go at it alone, that can evoke a tremendous amount of despair and depression and a lot of unpleasant emotions. So having a support system is helpful for those times where you can't carry the burden on your own. Other people who love you and care about you will help you in lifting that burden up until it begins to dissolve, right? And so I don't know if we have adolescents listening to our conversation, but something that I would encourage you all to do is I went to this amazing training yesterday. It's entitled Soul Shop. And my understanding, the basis of that particular training is helping faith-based leaders learn how to discuss suicide in the church setting. So that way, if any member of the congregation is in a state where they're thinking about dying by suicide, the faith leaders are able to support them in getting the help that they need and help within the church, right? And so one of the activities, I think it was created, her name is Michelle Snyder. She's awesome. One of the activities that she had named was name 3 people that you would call if you were thinking about taking your own life. Like, in my mind, I'm like, oh yeah, I got that. And she's like, now write it down. And that was a totally different experience, right? So I would invite people who are listening to us to think about and maybe even write down who your top 3 people, I would even appreciate 5, that you can reach out to if you're in a state of despair. Because if you reach out to any one of those people and one of them are not available, at least you know somebody else is on that list. And in addition to that, teenagers, and that's how I kind of got here, I would encourage you all to let your friends, the ones who are closest to you, know your parents' contact information. You all exchange that, because if something ever happened and you got into a jam, even if you don't want your friend to reach out to your parent, I would encourage you to let that happen, because you may not be able to see things as clearly as your friend, and they will probably realize, like, hey, I got to get their mom or dad or grandma, whomever, into the conversation, so that way my friend can be okay. So that is what I would offer. In addition to naming your 3 or your 5, be willing to share your parents' phone number or whatever with your friends, so that way they can reach out to them.
Very, very, very good. I mean, I never really thought about, I don't think I ever shared as a teenager. Now it's different, but I don't think I ever shared my parents' number with my friends. Never crossed my mind. I don't want you to call my parents. I know you're doing something we don't got no business doing. But
truly, and if I did give you my mom and dad's number, it's because you can't get a hold of me. I got my phone taken away because I broke whatever rule and didn't do whatever I was supposed to do. So call him to get to me.
Exactly. Exactly. All right. So when we jump into like just entertainment and social media and these celebrities and everything that is going on in the world today, how does that affect a teenager's mentality or mindset?
I'm going to do the pros, and then I'm going to do the cons, right?
Okay.
So the pros, there are celebrities out there who are naming their experience with mental health conditions that have created distress for them, right? I want to say the tennis star, her name is Naomi Osaka. I hope I'm saying her last name correctly.
Yeah, I think it's Osaka, yeah.
Yes. And then I think Demi Lovato has been pretty vocal. I know Lady Gaga has been vocal. And I want to say, I'm pretty sure Taraji P. Henson has been very vocal about her experience with health, right?
Yeah.
So we tend to have this false sense that celebrities just have like a perfect life, and once they make it to that pinnacle of success, like they don't have any down days. They don't grapple with things that regular humans grapple with, and they are regular humans who happen to be very talented and have made it to a certain level of success that some people may not. So that is outstanding. We need more celebrities and influencers to speak about mental health in a very candid way, specifically their personal experiences, right? Now let's loop that over to the con side. I work with teenagers providing mental health intervention, right? Therapy. And they really help me keep my finger on the pulse of what's going on social media. There are hashtags out there that highlight eating disordered behavior, that highlight self-injurious behavior, which can create this contagion effect, right? Like a fancy way of saying, I'm seeing this person do it, and that's giving me an urge to do it. Now, that's not to say every kid who sees this is going to engage in the behavior. And if there's some vulnerability already within that youth, them seeing certain detrimental or dangerous behaviors glorified and in such a massive way can create a lot of problems. So that's my take, and I hope I answered the question on the influences of social media and celebrities.
Absolutely. I think it's really important when celebrities talk about it because they have influence. So Vina and I are in school together, guys. And we just recently, I think in our executive leadership class, we're talking about power and influence, right? And so if you think about the level of influence that these celebrities have is, oh, I want to look like them, or, oh, I want to dress like them. I want to sign my daughter. I want to, some car she said she wanted, some expensive car. I can't even, a Ferrari. I don't know. Rolls Royce.
A Bugatti.
I'm like, can you spell Bugatti? Like, you want it because you seen it on TV or you're scrolling on TikTok. And so it's these kids see it and they want it, but they don't know. I feel like with that level of power and influence, like up here, if you got to be right up here. You know what I mean? You think about celebrities that have actually committed suicide. I can't remember their name. Well, Kate Spade, right? Was that her name? And then it was the guy, the chef. I think was he a chef?
Anthony Bourdain.
Yeah.
And Robin Williams.
And yep. And so, I mean, suicide is a thing. I know, I think about 2 years ago, there was a little girl who attended our church. She was my daughter's age. She committed suicide. She was 8 or 9. A baby. And I was just like, I was in awe because I have a child this age. Like what, as a mother, like what did I miss? You know? And so I think it's so important that you mentioned that and that celebrities continue to speak out on it. I know Lil Wayne has talked about his struggles and you know what I mean? And how it's been rough and tough for him. And it wasn't until he came to his senses. Big Sean, like it's a lot of them that are starting to really talk about mental health and try to begin to break that stigma. Charlamagne the God, the names are coming to me now, right?
Yeah.
But, you know, start to like really break that stigma, because what happens is when you don't talk about it, that social isolation takes place. And when that social isolation takes place, our thoughts begin to talk to us. That negative self-talk. And if you already struggle with a mental illness like depression or anxiety or something like that, those thoughts can come constantly. And with depression, all you're seeing is black. You know what I mean? Like you have black or white thinking. You don't see like the white is the light, the black is the dark, and the black, it just takes you to an even darker place in space where you just, you know, might not want to kill myself, but I don't want to be here anymore. And so when you have that, I don't want to be here anymore thought, being in that darkness and by yourself continues, you know, I say that depression and isolation and things like that, they come with their cousins. Right.
Yes.
And they homeboys come.
That's right.
When they come, it's like I got all these different things in my head. And as a teenager, I can't handle all of this, but who am I supposed to go to? Who am I going to talk to about what's going on? So thank you for that. I do hope that more celebrities begin to come out. I was, as I was preparing for this live, I posted on my page, Lady Gaga has an organization, and I think it may be in the United States already, but where they go into schools and they it's called like mental health aid or mental health, something along those lines, but they're going into schools and children are actually learning about their mental health and what it means and what are some skills that they can use and what support do they have, for themselves as well as for their peers. So I think that's brilliant. I was like, oh, this is really dope. Like, I really like this. So that's really good. Next question is and I think you may have spoken to it a little bit, but maybe you can go into talking about what DBT is and how it helps to change some of those behaviors. So like, what work have you done with teens to help to prevent suicide?
So I'm a licensed clinical social worker. I have the good fortune of working with a variety, all sorts of people, right? And we discuss all different sorts of things. Mm-hmm. And the thing that I'm most passionate about is discussing the motivation to stay alive, right? Like engaging in conversations about suicide prevention and also assisting youth in eliminating self-injurious behaviors, which is typically used as a means to regulate their emotions or get their emotions in check. Mm-hmm. Now, I am a suicide loss survivor. I lost my father to suicide approximately 20 years ago. Mm-hmm. And I want to share information with the youth, of course, and their parents and family members on ways to keep themselves alive and really encouraging youth to, you know, it's difficult, right? Like when we're teenagers, our brains are not fully developed. Yeah. And even if we've had some adversities, we don't have the capability to conceptualize things getting better, right? Mm-hmm. It feels awful and it's always going to be awful and there's no way out of this. So in whatever way I'm able to assist the youth in getting out of that state of despair and finding the motivation to stay alive, then that is something I'm passionate about. Dialectical behavior therapy is a vehicle to help me do that. Mm-hmm. It basically is, I'm trying not to get too jargony, but basically it talks about ways to notice what you're feeling, because emotions, I think, can happen be experienced faster than the speed of light. Like we can go through different emotional shifts in moments, depending upon how emotionally vulnerable our brain is or how vulnerable our brain is to emotion, right? We can be just very sensitive, very reactive. There's nothing wrong with that. And if our brains are more sensitive to emotions and situations that evoke emotional experiences, what behavioral skills can we do to tolerate distress, to regulate our emotions without cutting, to be in our relationships in a healthy, meaningful, purposeful way without it creating harm to us? How can we move past this state of wanting to die by suicide as a means of relief or feeling like you're not worthy to live, to create what Marsha Linehan, who created dialectical behavior therapy, would say is a life worth living? So that is the most of what I do. That's how I do it.
Awesome. So, and sorry to hear about your father. I'm also a suicide loss survivor. My uncle committed suicide. And I was younger, so I didn't really understand exactly what happened. But nonetheless, culturally, do you feel that more cultures are apt to talk about it and other cultures kind of like brush it under the rug and really don't talk about? I don't want to like blame game, but I know in African American, Black, those minority cultures, a lot of times we don't, you can handle it. Like you gotta put on this facade that you're like so tough and so, just always. So do you feel like some cultures are more likely to have these conversations about suicide than others?
I do. I will say that, and forgive me if I'm not using like politically correct terms, right? I think those folks, thank you, because you said I could be raw and real, please, and that's what I'm gonna do. Please. I think people from European racial descent, right, or white people have had more conversation about suicide and suicidality than Black people or African Americans, right, or those from African descent. I would even venture to say that that's true for other people of color, that the conversation about dying by suicide is not often had. The norm is changing. We're starting to have the conversation. I think that we are like decades and decades behind. I can tell you, focusing, not to be dismissive of anybody's culture or racial background or any specific race of people. I'm going to focus on Black youth for a minute. Okay. There was a study done, just recently released, and I didn't print out the title page, but what I have here says Black youth suicide. And what I can tell you, even if there's been a trend of white people dying by suicide at a higher rate than any other racial group, what the research is finding is that Black youth between the ages as young as 5 all the way up to 17, their peers of different racial groups, they are climbing the ranks. Black youth are climbing the ranks and being one of the most prevalent groups to die by suicide. Okay. Wow. And this research is kind of startling because 20, 30 years ago, that wasn't the case. So then it begs the question, what's going on? What's happening to our Black youth to where they are dying by suicide at higher rates than their other peers, right? So I could get into specific age groups and specific genders and what those influencers of suicide could be, but I'm mindful that may be a different conversation. But what I can tell you all is that it would be worth the read if you just kind of type in recent study about Black teenage suicide or Black youth suicide. It will be an eye-opening journal for you to read.
Wow. You said as young as 5?
As young as 5 is who was surveyed. So age group from 5 to 11, then they did from 12 to 14, then 15 to 17.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's really alarming. I mean,
so when you said the 8-year-old passed away in your congregation, like, of course that hurts. And after reading this journal, I'm not as surprised as I would have been had I not read it.
I got you. So, and I didn't write this question down, but I did want to ask you about this. What are your thoughts on bullying and suicide? Do you think there's a correlation?
You know what? Great question, because I've read different schools of thought, right? Like there's some publications that will say, well, bullying is a direct correlating factor to a youth dying by suicide. And I've read other publications that say, that's not really. I think that bullying is a factor that can contribute to a youth dying by suicide, because when I've been bullied, right? Mm-hmm. Or if other kids have been bullied, there tends to be this social isolation that happens, right? Because people will make fun of the kid being bullied, or not hang around the kid that gets bullied because you just got bullied, and I'm not gonna hang with you because he might bully me or she might bully me too, right? Yeah. So I think that I think that it can be a factor because if I get bullied, I don't have any friends, nobody wants to be seen with me. I feel socially isolated. Now we got this social media thing going on, and I'm getting bullied on social media, and I'm feeling in more despair. I'm feeling depressed, or I'm feeling anxious. I might turn to drugs. That might lead me to engage in, self-harm or wanting to take my life. So I think that constellation of issues, including bullying, can be a contributing factor to a teenager dying by suicide.
Wow. Wow. I wish there was some, and there may be in the schools, but I wish there was some way that we can help these teenagers and children to understand like what bullying is, what bullying looks like, and what the outcome of bullying could be. Because the reality is, we don't really know what a person is going through. So if I'm going through, think if you have parents, both of my parents, struggle with like some substance abuse stuff. And, I was really skinny so I was bullied in school, but to be dealing with that and trying to kind of like figure out life. And then now I go to school and I'm not accepted here either. Like, why am I even here? Like the thoughts that you may have at that age.
Bingo. Mm-hmm.
So what are some, we're actually wrapping up, but what are some, you shared earlier, 2 phone numbers for the National Suicide Hotline and for the crisis text line. But are there any other, I like to have these conversations, but I also like to leave the listeners with like some tools. I'm big on a toolkit. What do you have in your toolkit that can assist you when you're going through, whatever we're talking about? So if you have that suicidal ideation, or if you're experiencing those suicidal thoughts, or you're engaging in self-harm, whatever it may be, what tools do you have that can help you to cope with that in a more positive way? Or in a healthier way? Do you have any tools or anything that you would like for our listeners to leave with?
Do I? I sure do. Okay. I do. Okay, so I have a number of apps, right? So I have a number of apps, and then I'll make a book recommendation or two. Okay. And if you have any questions for me, like generally the audience, if they have any questions for me, then I can be reached in different ways. That's not self-promotion. That is my...
No. Go ahead and tell them right now, because that was going to be what I was going to talk about next. So tell them, anybody that's listening, how they can get in touch with Vina, or if they're interested in your services or whatever. Share us your social media platforms, whatever.
Okay. So my website is myhoneybeetherapy.com. myhoneybeetherapy.com. You go on that website and you'll be able to get connected to my social media and email me and all that other good stuff. I am most active on Instagram. Okay. I'm still figuring it out, but I'm on there. And that handle is the same as my website, which is My Honeybee Therapy. Okay. So I'll leave you with those two. I have a LinkedIn, I have a Facebook, all that, but those two are the most important. Gotcha. And also on the website is my office phone number. You can reach out to me. Email is really great in case you have any questions. But here are the resources. These are all phone apps, by the way. First one is Not Okay. Not Okay is a phone application that youth and their trusted support system can download, where the youth is able to hit a button and it alerts whatever people who have been added to their contacts that for the Not Okay, alert them that that youth needs support, needs a phone call, needs to be picked up, whatever. So that's Not Okay. Okay. Right? That's number one. The second one is Calm Harm, CALM, Harm, HARM. That is a phone application that's designed for individuals who have intense emotional reactions and who may engage in self-injurious behaviors as a way to deal with their emotions. That phone application offers different strategies for the person to do. It doesn't have to be a kid, it could be anybody, but for the person to use to cope through those challenging moments. The next one is My3, MY number 3. And it's like pretty much stated in the name, but the user would choose 3 people that they would reach out to if they're in need of mental health or emotional support, okay? The other one is Elijah, ELIJAH. when you download it, different Elijah things come up, but it is an orange eagle with a sky blue background, similar suicide prevention support, reaching out to those people who are part of your support list. And I think it also has GPS capabilities so they can find out exactly where you're at, right? They come through and get you. The final one is Combined Mind. Now, this could be downloaded by the person, it could be downloaded by the youth and their family members, and it helps with educating both parties on ways to tolerate difficult moments, in addition to tolerating distress and regulating their emotions. It's a really cool app. It doesn't just involve the user, it also involves their support system. So all of these phone applications are great. Okay, period. Now I'm gonna go to the books. I'm gonna do like 2 books, okay? So the first book is, if you are a parent who has a child who engages in self-injurious behaviors, then you wanna get a book called Helping Teens Who Cut, okay?
Cut, C-U-T?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
And then the other book, if you're raising a child who is emotionally sensitive and very reactive and engages in self-harm, or maybe experiences suicidal thoughts or have attempted to die by suicide, and you want to learn how to parent them effectively, there is a book called Parenting a Child or Parenting a Teen with Overwhelming Emotions. I'm sorry, Parenting a Teen with Intense Emotions. Okay. They have a child version and a teen version.
Oh, that's really good. All right. I mean, I think it's good because you may see different behaviors in children than you do in teenagers. Just develop.
100%. Yep.
So this has been really good. Thank you for coming on.
My pleasure. You are an amazing host. I wish you tremendous success, and thank you so much for letting me be a guest on your platform.
You are so welcome. So I just have one thing to say before I get ready to get off. Tomorrow is my anniversary, everyone. So I posted this on my Instagram, but I'm telling, my Facebook family and everybody else that is listening. And I think last year, I can't remember when it was, but I released a t-shirt line, sweatshirt line, where we are normalizing mental health. And so right now we have our mental health is line. And then we have different sayings on them. I actually have one right now, and it says, mental health is prioritizing me. And then it has conversations with a clinician at the bottom. So because it's my anniversary, I am doing something for you all, everybody that follows me, that listens to me. At 12 a.m. tonight, you will be able to get 26% off of anything that you purchase, because tomorrow is the 26th of September. And so whether you get ebooks, whether you get courses, classes, apparel, whatever you want to get for yourself or someone that you know to begin to normalize mental health, that's for you all in celebration of my anniversary. So I love everyone. I hope you all were able to get something for this conversation. Again, Vina, thank you. You are a wealth of information. You did amazing. You didn't use a lot of jargon.
Sorry, I can't help
I said you didn't. You didn't.
I did. Okay.
No, you didn't. You didn't. It was able to be, able to understand. And I feel like, the listeners were able to get something from it. So thank you for coming on again. And you all have a good night. And I will see you again on the 15th of October. So Conversations with a Clinician, the dates have changed. It's going to be every third Wednesday, but I had to get Vina in tonight because it's National Suicide Month. So every third Wednesday at 8 p.m. And next month, we'll be talking about mental health and domestic violence. So again, see you all.
Peace.
Peace.